Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 10-minute chats this month of July. We have with us Ivana Drobnjak. Welcome, Ivana. We're really happy to have you this month. And hello. We wanted to ask you if you could do us in like a power pitch style. What is your role in the department in computer science?
I'm a professor in computational healthcare, and I am also director of the undergraduate program for the Department of Computer Science. I have had many different roles in the past, so this is my current big role. I also lead my own research group, which is called CODI, and which works in digital health and intelligence. That's kind of the focus in which I work with clinicians on problems in healthcare that could be solved with technology. So, for example, one of our projects is to do with remote patient monitoring. But I can answer maybe more details about that if you ask me later.
No, it's really interesting. We actually had sort of questions more about gender equality, which we were hoping to ask you. So in a lot of our previous chats, we've spoken to either like PhD students or undergrads, and kind of a common theme has been female role models and like the lack of them, really, because we're very excited to talk to you, Ivana, because you're one of the few sort of more senior women in the computer science department. And so we were wondering kind of what's been your experience in computer science?
But I think throughout my career, I don't think I have ever experienced myself any difference in treatment or any kind of explicit disadvantage. There are some implicit ones, which is just by the sheer fact of being a woman and having a body which goes through, monthly hormonal changes, for example, or then when you decide to have children and going through being pregnant for 9 months and then looking after your little children. Each child and each pregnancy is a physical involvement in large physical change. And so each time you do have to slow down with work for those 2 years, you are definitely affected. And then once the children are small, your mind is kind of very split up, and it takes you a couple of years, to kind of just be able to focus again. So this is the kind of implicit difference that I have experienced, that it is definitely more challenging to be a woman. So for example, I can give you an example in terms of promotion that I've started together in the same time as my 2 male colleagues in the same position, and I was this year promoted to professor, and they
congratulations.
Thank you. And they were promoted to a professor 3 or 4 years ago. So that's the kind of delay that will come with being pregnant. And I was pregnant. I have 3 children. I was pregnant twice. My second and the third are twins. So I'm a very busy mom.
That's really interesting, because we were actually going to ask about that, sort of how having children changes like this trajectory, because I think it's often when women's careers maybe tend to slow down a little bit, or
And how did you personally manage all that in order to, because you at the end you got to a very high position. How was your personal experience? What advice would you give, or how did you manage with all that maternity and career?
So it is definitely challenging, but it is like one of those life challenges. Everybody will have some challenges in their life. That is one of them. That is a given, but there is, so it is just about, so I can tell you about my personal experience, and then I can maybe mention some advice. So every person kind of, I think, should choose based on their own personality, based on their own, wants and needs and understanding of themselves and what their strengths are, kind of work with themselves to kind of create their own ideal path, because there isn't any kind of one prescribed solution. It is really about finding a path that works for you. So in my personal path, so when I gave birth to my first child, I still didn't have a permanent post. And I think probably in the academic career, for example, the jump from being a postdoc to a permanent position is probably the largest jump. I think up to that point, it's smoother and more manageable to kind of be on that kind of trajectory. And then there is that kind of big gap.
Yep.
And the thing is that for a woman, usually this gap happens, this jump needs to happen around the time we are 30, or between 30 and 40, 30, 35. And that's usually the time when women decide to have children. So it's a kind of really difficult time to make this big jump into a permanent academic position, while also thinking that you should be, getting pregnant and giving birth. So what I did is that I kind of preempted this in advance. I've kind of thought through a little bit what is required for me on this path to be able to get, what will kind of enhance my chances to get a permanent position. And I figured, I went and spoke a few people who are very senior to get their advices. And I think it was this, everybody advised me that having an strong independent fellowship and achieving that would be a great kind of step towards permanent position, because then you're in a very strong position to actually get a position. So I started preparing for this fellowship maybe 2 years before I was before I was due to give birth. So I never thought I'm going to first do this and then I'm going to be thinking about children. I didn't do that. I was already I'm married, and I wanted that to happen naturally. For me, having children was my priority, and I didn't want to condition that element of my personality based on where am I in my career. But in the same time, I was very proactive about my career constantly. And so when I started my postdoc already, so I finished my PhD and I started my postdoc at UCL. I was already thinking, I was lining up these fellowships, I was getting advised. And I was thinking, so what do these fellowships then need? What shall I have to strengthen my case for a fellowship? How many publications should I have? How should I present how should I be? And so what does it need to be an academic? I always want to be an academic. And one of the key things is to be a leader. One of the key things is to have your own independent ideas, to develop your own. So the whole idea of the fellowship is to develop your own independent idea and turn it into a research proposal, which then gets evaluated. So I already started developing these things by myself, independently, regardless of my supervisors. So I was working on my postdoc and I was delivering on the publications, which was definitely one of the criteria. But I was at the same time developing my own research ideas and going and speaking to people who would potentially be my collaborators, and going out of my way to kind of line up and kind of dream team for my fellowship application. So in terms of publication, what I would advise, I had like a list of publications, and I said, okay, I am really going to do this one by one. Because how often we are as postdocs, when we were postdocs, we have all these different ideas and all these things going on in parallel. It's really important to kind of really prioritize and say, okay, for these ones are definitely going to happen. So these I'm going to be first author. I'm really going to do them one by one. These ones, I don't have time to do them, but maybe I could work with another person, and maybe you can ask somebody else to take that to be a lead, and you can be middle author or second author. And then there are some publications that I just said, okay, I'm going to just drop these. It's never going to happen because I already have sufficient amount of work. That just structuring is already a kind of thing that you could be doing in terms of your, and then in terms of this independent idea, it's something you can go and you can speak to people, you can kind of develop it based on your interests. And I mean, I went to conferences and spoke to people there to invite them to be in my team, to ask them, is this a good idea? Do you think this is a good idea? How could we improve this? Until I really got all the team in place, and the team was really brilliant. And the idea was very good. And so I applied for a fellowship, and I got the fellowship. And that was a prestigious fellowship. And I think that was kind of, that set me up to be very strong candidate when they then had an opening, a lectureship opening at the university, and I then got that position, permanent position. And that was, I was giving birth. I gave birth a month after I submitted my fellowship application, and 5 days after being interviewed for a post of a lectureship.
Wow. That's intense.
I think you're a superwoman, Ivana.
But the thing is that, again, everybody like will have their own ways of doing things. So I'm very full of energy, and you will see as well, actually, when you're pregnant, you can have lots of energy to do things. And for me, I was very much like that. But again, people around me were very supportive, extremely supportive, and that they moved an interview time so that it can fit with my pregnancy time, with my due date. That's very important. I cannot the connections and being connected with people, being supported by people around you, it's really important. Together with this, being prepared. Because from my experience, true luck is where the preparation meets an opportunity. Because we don't need lots of opportunities in life. We just need one. But if you are prepared, then you'll be able to make something out of that. And I think that has been my motto in life. I really like to be prepared for things.
I feel like you've just given us a really long list of fantastic advice, Ivana.
Was that
very pragmatic too?
Oh, that was lovely. So I think we could summarize it by like good planning, good preparation, and being proactive, and a good networking system.
And be the leader. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Proactive. Don't rely on people and expect people will do it. You are the lead of your own destiny. So you go to people when you need them, but you make your own plan, and then you say where different people fit in this plan. And then you go and you talk to them and you ask for help. And people are really nice, and they will really help you. Senior people as well. I have always had extremely good response from senior people. For example, if you ever come and ask me, would you like to see my CV and spend a couple of hours with me, giving me personal advice, I would do that. And I was never asked. I was asked maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
People don't do that so much. But I think we are very open to be very kind of supportive. And especially as a woman, I'm extremely supportive towards
It's good to know.
upcoming women. So
I think a lot of times it's like, because we think the senior people are so busy and we don't want to bother them with our like stupid little things, like checking a TV, like, I should know how to do that kind of thing. So it's good to know that senior people are like a reminder that they're also people, and they are also approachable, and they were also in like our situations. I guess they empathize. Yes.
100%. And with our like so much experience behind this, we don't need that much time to see what we need.
Yeah.
Doesn't take.
That's it's a good reminder, Ivana. Thank you.
Yes. And then after that, when I secured the position and the fellowship, then I could relax and give birth when they tell you, I remember, this is like, many years ago, there was this misconception that when a woman goes on a maternity leave, it's like, you just, you go and you have like a 6-month or 8-month break. Or I don't know, rest. And only when you give birth, you realize how big illusion is that.
Now when the work starts, I guess, no?
I have to say that after 6 months on maternity leave, my first full day of rest was when I came back to work, the first day of being yes.
Wow.
That's when I realized how misconceptional the whole idea of, these old traditional movies, and that a woman was there all day with the kids in house and everything, and husband comes back from work and then he puts his feet up and says, I've been working all day hard, like, where's my dinner? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I only realized this when I came back to work. And the first day at work, I was thinking, oh my God, I can have meetings and talk to people. I'm not distracted with the baby crying. My brain is my own. My thoughts are not split. I can go to the toilet. It's quite demanding, I have to say, and amazing. But this is now advice for people who do think about maternity. I mean, I have lots of advices, and when you actually probably when you have different focused a series on different things. But in terms of the pregnancies, I advise all women when they go to maternity leave in that period to really focus just on the baby and not try to do research in parallel. I tried and failed the first time I did it. And so the second time when I went on maternity leave, I was only doing meetings. So you can do meetings because then you focus on the conversation much easier. But if you're just by yourself and with the baby, it's very hard it's just your brain is just melted.
Foggy brain.
That's great. It's so interesting hearing everything you have to say, Ivana. We were wondering, actually, going back a little bit to the topic of role models, because I think actually when we spoke to women, not only have they expressed kind of a lack of women in senior roles, but often I think people have actually specifically spoken about you, Ivana, as being like a woman may look up to in the department. And so we were wondering, do you feel a responsibility to be a role model to others?
So much. It makes me feel like almost like blushing. I just feel really like I was postdoc myself yesterday, and when you get to a situation where a new and young and becoming women tell you that you're a role model, it's very touching. So thank you. And now you say it, yes, I feel then that is a bit of a responsibility.
Oh, sorry, no, we didn't mean to hoist responsibility onto you.
I totally embrace that. I've been actually thinking about that myself. I have been a chair for Athena Swan committee for a few years, and I've been involved in Athena Swan committee for 10 years, since 2009 until a couple of years ago, where I stepped down. And that was really part of the whole thing. How can I use my experience and my energy and understanding to improve the way the system is and the culture is and environment, so that we can advance the careers of women. And actually this transition from being a postdoc to being a permanent position was one of the first things that we identified when I started analyzing the data, that was where the drop was.
Right. Yeah, this is something we talk about a lot, is like how it falls off the higher and higher up you get.
And actually we've together as a committee, we've implemented a few things of this transition. And now actually if you look at the current, so there is this whole jump to first a fellow and then a permanent post has been like formalized through this a pathway called the proleptic lecture. So for the cases where a woman or a man get this large independent fellowship, then the department can consider opening a post, especially for them. And once the fellowship is finished, they then automatically transition on the lectureship path.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
And in addition to that, that's why we've implemented as a department, our committee has implemented this whole very strong fellowship training workshops.
Yes.
And that started from that idea. It was all about boosting creating this transition, creating this, cushion, just putting an extra step there, and support around it. And also, this is also why we strengthen very much the childcare opportunities, and having funding for childcare, and also for the mothers who are coming back from maternity leaves. We also have funding for them, which is called the post-break award. So this is for men and women who come back from a long period of absence, which encompasses maternity leave. So you can apply for example, £10,000 from the department, which is what we installed, so that you can, maybe invest in conferences or invest in hiring an assistant to help you some of the things that you just couldn't deliver on, and just speed you up with your research. So we have put a lot of things in place, and I think that for whoever is listening to this, if you contact the Athena Swan committee and current chair Ifat Yassin, I think they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about all the different things. And I'm very proud to say that for all the activities that we have done, we have achieved numerous UK awards, and the direct impact that happened in the department is that when we started in 2009 and 10, there were 11% of female academics in total in the department. And then 10 years later, there were 21%. So we had, with all the activities, 10% increase in the...
It's really good.
So now that gap, that used to be, in our department was the intake of female students, undergraduates, MScs and PhDs and postdocs is always between kind of 21%, 22%. And there was this drop to 11% in 2011. And now we have 21% of female academics. So this kind of drop has now been leveled in our department because of all these activities. And so we got also 2 European awards for that, which was very cool. So we were very happy. So this is also another example when I started working at Athena Swan, people used to tell me, oh my God, you get like stranded to do that, because, always women get stranded to do these boring things that nobody values. And these are also misconceptions. Misconception can exist from all sides. It's all about what you choose to do. So when I started working at Athena Swan, first I chose myself because I really care about this area. And when you invest your passion and energy in that, and some creative ideas, you then make the post. After we got all the awards and make this impact, suddenly just those activities became the whole, my promotion was immediately being almost, boosted because of that. The UCL truly recognizes the work you do. My position in department is highly respected because of that. It was not at all neither a waste of time or an activity that people don't appreciate. They truly appreciate. Both men and women appreciate the changes that you make. And I think that this is really important. And I think that happens because you turn the table around, and it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So whatever you choose to do it in a way that matters, because then everybody cares.
That's really beautiful. Thank you, Ivana. I think we're gonna end up on that beautiful note because we've gone a bit over time, right?
Oh yeah, I think we have.
Yes.
Shall I wrap things up then?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ivana, so much for talking to us. It was really, really interesting. Yeah, just so much advice and insight and thoughts. And I feel like we could ask you questions and talk to you for another hour yet.
Yeah.
But it's been great talking to you for 10 minutes-ish.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivana. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I look forward to see you around the office.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for inviting me. Good luck to both of you and to all who are listening with everything you decide to do. I'm really happy to help out. So just reach out to me, and well done to both of you for really these amazing 10-minute sessions. I love everything about them. I mean, from the way they're done to the way you organize them, to the questions you ask, and to their name. I absolutely love.
Now we're the ones blushing, Ivana.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you two were both also awarded a little bit for organizing this, and I'm very, very proud of you. So please do come to my office and have coffee with me anytime.
Thank you. It's lovely.
Thank you so much, Ivana. Bye-bye.